The moment the first bell rang, the hallway was already alive with the kind of noise that felt more like chaos than chatter. Lockers slammed shut, sneakers squeaked against polished floors, laughter echoed in jagged bursts, and somewhere down the hall a boy's voice rang out in mockery. But in the midst of all that noise, one girl kept her head down, clutching the strap of her worn backpack like it was the only thing tethering her to the ground. That girl was Lily Tran. 17 years old, slim, with dark hair she always let fall in front of her face, and the kind of quiet presence that made her invisible to most, except to the ones who liked to target the invisible. Lily wasn't shy because she wanted to be. She was shy because, in this school, every time she had tried to stand out, someone made sure she regretted it. The last time she'd spoken up in class, a cruel voice from the back had called her Mouse, and the nickname had followed her for months. The teachers noticed but never did enough. And the ones who should have been her friends, weren't. It was safer to blend into the background, safer to move like a shadow. Or so she thought. That morning, she slid into her seat in history class, tucking her hair forward, eyes on the desk. She was hoping for a quiet day. But fate, and the three people sitting 2 rows behind her, had other plans. Jason Cole, the ringleader, had the kind of smirk that made you feel like you'd already lost whatever game he was playing. His 2 sidekicks, Amber and Kyle, flanked him like shadows, laughing at everything he said, no matter how cruel. And for some reason, Lily had been their favorite target since the start of the semester. She didn't even know why. Maybe because she never fought back. Maybe because hurting someone who wouldn't fight was easier. The history teacher, Mr. Gardner, was late, again. Which meant the pack had free time to do whatever they wanted. Lily kept her eyes on the cracks in her desk, willing herself to disappear, but she felt the tension in the air before she heard their whispers. "Hey, Mouse," Jason's voice slid across the room. "Nice shirt. Thrift store find." Lily didn't answer. She knew better. But Amber's voice joined in, syrupy sweet and twice as venomous. "Oh, I don't think it's thrift store. Looks more like something she made herself, out of curtains." The laughter that followed felt like a slap. A few other students chuckled, more out of fear of being the next target than actual amusement. Lily tried to focus on the clock above the whiteboard, watching the second-hand tick. Just 5 more minutes until Gardner arrived. She could survive 5 minutes. But Jason wasn't finished. He never was. "Bet I can make it look better," he said. Lily could hear the scrape of his chair against the floor. Her pulse quickened. She knew he was getting closer. Her body stiffened, but she didn't turn around. If she ignored him, maybe. Too late. His hand grabbed the back of her shirt and yanked. The fabric stretched, the stitches groaned, and before she could twist away, there was a loud, ugly sound, the unmistakable rip of cloth tearing. It felt like the whole room froze. Lily's breath caught in her throat, and heat flooded her face. Her shoulder was exposed, the tear jagged, humiliating. Jason's laugh was the loudest in the room, echoing off the walls like it belonged there. "Oops," he said, mock innocence dripping from his voice. The room erupted into whispers. Some were shocked, some amused, but none of them moved to help. Lily's hands flew to her shirt, clutching the fabric together, but she could feel every pair of eyes on her, burning holes in her skin. Her chest rose and fell faster, her vision blurring, not from tears, but from something else. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. Anger. Jason stepped back, still grinning like he'd just scored a point in some cruel game. "Relax, Mouse. I was just..." She didn't let him finish. She stood. The chair scraped loudly against the floor, the sound sharp and final. Her hair fell back from her face, revealing eyes that were no longer hiding. Eyes that locked on him like a predator sizing up prey. "You think this is funny?" she asked, her voice low but clear enough for everyone to hear. Jason blinked. The smirk faltered for half a second before coming back. "Yeah, pretty much." Lily dropped her backpack to the floor. "Then you're about to be the punchline." The room went dead silent. Even Amber's laugh caught in her throat. Jason opened his mouth to retort, but by then, Lily was already moving. She stepped forward, not running, not hesitating, just closing the distance in 3 measured strides. And then, without warning, her body twisted, her legs snapping up in a perfect arc. The roundhouse kick landed with a sound that no one in the room would forget, clean, sharp, and final. Jason staggered back, the chair behind him tipping over with a crash. His hands flew to his face, eyes wide with shock. For a second, no one moved. No one spoke. The only sound was Jason's ragged breathing and the faint hum of the overhead lights. Lily stood there, shoulders squared, breathing steady, the torn shirt forgotten. She didn't look at anyone else, her eyes stayed on Jason. "Touch me again," she said quietly, "and see what happens." And then, just as the door opened and Mr. Gardner stepped in, the bell rang. The class was still frozen, the air thick with disbelief. Lily grabbed her backpack, slung it over her shoulder, and walked out without another word. The whispers started before the door even swung shut behind her. By lunchtime, the story had already spread. Some swore she'd knocked Jason's tooth loose. Others claimed she'd trained in martial arts for years, waiting for the right moment. The truth didn't matter. What mattered was that the shy girl with the curtain shirt had just silenced the loudest bully in the school, with one move. But Lily knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next morning, Lily knew before she even stepped into the building that the day wouldn't be normal. It wasn't just the looks she got from kids loitering by the front steps, or the way conversations seemed to stop when she walked by. It was the electricity in the air, the unspoken tension that clung to her skin. Yesterday's kick had become the school's latest legend. And legends didn't fade overnight. The moment she stepped into the hallway, she felt it, eyes on her from every direction. A group of freshmen whispered behind their hands. A senior girl she didn't know gave her a small nod of approval. Even the janitor seemed to glance at her twice. Lily kept her head up this time, not hiding behind her hair. Something in her had shifted after yesterday. The girl who avoided attention had tasted what it felt like to stand her ground, and it was addictive. But she also knew Jason wouldn't let it go. Jason Cole had ruled this school's social food chain for years, not because he was the smartest or the strongest, but because he was ruthless. Humiliation was his currency, and Lily had cost him more than his pride yesterday. She'd shattered his untouchable image. And guys like Jason didn't forgive or forget. By the time third period rolled around, she got her first taste of his revenge. She opened her locker to find it stuffed with shredded paper, dripping with something sticky and sweet. The smell hit her immediately, soda mixed with syrup. Her books were soaked, her notes ruined. A folded piece of paper sat right on top of the mess. She didn't have to open it to know who it was from. Still, she unfolded it with steady hands. One word, written in thick black marker, payback. Her pulse quickened, but she refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. She cleaned out what she could, slammed the locker shut, and headed to class. She wouldn't hide. Not this time. By lunch, the whispers had turned into open stares. She heard fragments of conversations as she walked by. She's gonna get it. No one humiliates Jason like that. Bet she won't try that kick again. She sat at an empty table, unwrapping a sandwich she barely had the appetite for. That's when Amber slid into the seat across from her. Perfect hair, perfect smile, but her eyes were sharp as glass. "Lily," Amber said, drawing out the syllables like she was tasting them. "You really think you're some kind of hero now?" Lily didn't look up. "No, I just don't let people rip my clothes." Amber's smile didn't falter, but her voice turned colder. "You humiliated him in front of the whole class. Do you know what that does to someone like Jason? He's not just gonna let it slide. And when he hits back, it's gonna hurt." Lily finally met her gaze. "Tell him to save his threats. I'm not scared." Amber's smirk deepened. "Oh, you will be." She stood and walked away, leaving her words hanging in the air like a dark cloud. The rest of the day was quiet, too quiet. Jason wasn't in any of her classes. She almost started to believe maybe he'd decided to drop it. But when the final bell rang, she found out the truth. The courtyard was nearly empty when she stepped outside. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows over the cracked pavement. She was halfway to the gates when a voice stopped her. "Going somewhere, mouse." She turned. Jason was leaning against the wall, arms crossed. His lip was swollen from yesterday, a faint bruise forming along his cheekbone. Behind him stood Kyle and Amber, blocking the only other exit. Lily's heartbeat picked up, but her face stayed calm. "Move." Jason laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "You embarrassed me. In front of everyone. You think you can just walk away from that? You embarrassed yourself," she said. "I just made it obvious." His jaw tightened. "You've got guts, I'll give you that. But let's see if you can back it up without a classroom watching. He stepped forward, and for a split second, Lily saw the flash of his fist coming toward her. She moved without thinking, years of her father's old martial arts training kicking in. She ducked, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. Jason grunted, stumbling, but recovered fast. "Lucky shot," he spat. "Not luck," she said, her stance solid. "Practice." Kyle moved in from her left. She pivoted, planting her foot in his stomach. He doubled over with a wheeze. Amber, thinking she saw an opening, lunged, but Lily sidestepped and used her own momentum to send her sprawling to the pavement. Jason came at her again, this time angrier, faster. Their movements blurred, blocks, strikes, dodges. It wasn't clean or pretty, but it was raw, fueled by adrenaline. Finally, Lily saw her chance. She spun, her leg arcing high, and delivered another roundhouse kick. This one landed squarely on Jason's chest, knocking him back into the wall. He slid down, winded, eyes wide with something Lily hadn't seen before, fear. For a long moment, no one moved. Even Kyle and Amber just stared, the fight gone out of them. Lily stepped forward, her voice steady. "This ends now. You leave me alone. You leave everyone like me alone. Or next time, I won't stop at a kick." Jason didn't answer. He just looked away. Lily picked up her backpack and walked past them, her steps slow, deliberate. Every person in the courtyard who had been watching in secret now had their phones out. By the next morning, the video would be everywhere. But Lily didn't care about going viral. For the first time in years, she felt free. When she got home that night, she stared at herself in the mirror. Same face, same hair, same brown eyes. But the girl looking back at her wasn't the same one who had walked into class yesterday, hiding behind her hair. She was someone who had fought back. And she knew this wasn't just her story anymore. It was for every kid who'd ever been pushed, mocked, cornered, or silenced. The legend of the shy girl's kick wouldn't fade anytime soon, and maybe that was exactly what the school needed. And that's how Lily's story became more than just a fight, it became a turning point. If you believe no one should ever have to stay silent against a bully,